Okay, it's time to say welcome along to today's podcast with yours truly, Steve Charles from Bali FM. And we have today Melina Caruso from BHA, consultant, and Simona Chimenti as well, GM of the Pavilions Bali, and also Director of Marketing and Promotion, or PR, for BHA. So welcome both.
Hi, Steve. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Steve. Lovely being here.
All right, we're going to talk about Bali, of course, and quite a few things to cover today. There's probably a lot of you out there that are asking so many questions. I know I get hit a lot about these questions. So I'm going to give a few questions, first of all, to Melina. Right? Melina, getting into Bali, what's your opinion of that? Do you know any people that actually getting a problem getting into Bali now?
If with the right visa, you can get in. You fly into Jakarta, you serve your quarantine period, and then you continue on to Bali, as long as you have the right visa that's issued. There are no visa on arrivals being issued at all, and no flights coming directly into Bali as yet, and we don't know when it will start. We're hoping to get some more information in the next week or so.
Foreigners, they still need a key test or key tap to get in, right? But I have been told actually there's a lot of business visas being issued currently, so we should be inundated with new business opportunities. All right, well, look, hotels are a big deal, so obviously, this one is going out to BHA.
Well, in terms of hotels, we're ready to rock and roll. I guess everyone's ready. CHSC protocols in place. Everyone's vaccinated, verified, certified, all ready to go. We just need to know what the game plan is from the government at this point. That's the unknown. And also the hotels, and I'm sure Simona can probably elaborate on this, is also that move from having people on unpaid leave to being back on a roster once business starts to come back.
Yeah, I guess pretty much all the hotels in Bali are on some sort of unpaid leave or reduced operation at the moment. However, at the same time, because we do have domestic tourism coming in, gives us a chance, of course, to reinforce all the new protocols and ensure all the procedures for the CHSE protocols are in place. So from an operational point of view, we're ready. It's easy to sort of like turn the machine up. We're just waiting for the latest updates in terms of when we will be welcoming international customers again.
Sorry, you mentioned that a lot of hotels and restaurants had their staff vaccinated. BHA was pretty integral in the beginning of putting together vaccination sites at our member hotels, and then working together with the various government agencies in getting the hotel staff and community around the hotels vaccinated as well. So that was really good synergy with the Department of Health and the Department of Tourism, and we had a lot of support from the Minister of Tourism for that too.
Yeah, that's right. I think we were talking about it last week. The Minister of Tourism and Creative Economy, he's living in Bali now 3 days a week just to support Bali, which I think is great. Simona, you're the GM of Pavilions. Give us an idea of what health protocols you've put in place if I was a guest walking into your lovely pavilions.
So it's basically all the same health protocols that all businesses in Bali would observe. So it goes, of course, in terms of trying to make the service as contactless as possible. So we are avoiding where we can any contamination between staff and guests, and obviously guest and guest. So a lot of procedures have moved, if we can, to an online. Let's say we have, for example, an app in place where our guests can order in villa dining, and a chat function where they can talk directly with our guest service team. In terms of cleanliness, well, of course, in terms of a luxury operation, there is no real, let's say, upgrade in terms of cleanliness, but of course sanitation, yes. So there's increased sanitation protocols in terms of high-touch surfaces that are cleaned after each use, as well as public areas that are cleaned and sanitized on a more regular basis. Of course, PPE in place for everybody, so staff and guests, so obligatory mask, obligatory social distancing, hand washing facilities at all outlets, at our lobby as well, temperature checks on a regular basis, so there's multiple daily temperature checks also for staff, guests, and any other stakeholders, suppliers. And of course, for all those that are operating in terms of food, housekeeping, and similar, also to wear gloves where their operation requires it. So there's definitely been an increase in the protective equipment that the team has to use, as well as the focus on the sanitation side.
Okay, thanks for that. What about forward bookings at this particular time?
Well, we're definitely getting forward forward bookings. It's a bit of a waiting game, especially for the, let's say, the European market. So we're quite strongly based on European market for our boutique property. So there are quite a few nationalities who would be willing to travel. However, they're obviously waiting what is happening. So a lot will depend as of when we will be opening and what, of course, the entry requirements will be. At the moment, we're seeing a lot of bookings still coming in for, let's say, the fourth quarter of the year, as well as already bookings for 2022. Guests are still playing it a bit safe, let's say.
Okay. I would imagine at present there's some amazing hotel deals to be had around the place. Okay, Melina, back to you. Airlines. We're talking about airlines. So at this moment in time, no airlines coming in?
No, I can confirm that we have checked, and Singapore Airlines have confirmed that they know nothing. There's nothing that they've been told that they can share with us. Also, nothing from Qatar, nothing from the Australian Airlines. So we do know that when we almost had the start with Singapore Airlines, that they said that there was a pretty huge demand coming from even from Europe. So people were ready to come as long as they could fly directly into Bali and as long as they knew what kind of visa they needed. But until that's all made clear, then it's a little bit of a guessing game. I guess it'd be okay to say we had a meet up with the Phuket Hotel Association earlier this week, and that was really great to exchange ideas and plans and what each of us were doing. And the major difference, I guess, is that Phuket is not going into what is traditionally the high season, whereas July for us is, but they have their government who have made very firm and clear plans for the hospitality and tourism industry. So they know what visa you can get, where you can stay, where you can't stay. Vaccinated travellers don't need to quarantine. We're still waiting on the final plan from the government. So hopefully we will get that soon so we can all move forward.
And I think from what we hear, so both from the colleagues in Phuket as well as from other destinations that are open, Fiji, Seychelles, is that as soon as there is an opportunity to travel, there are plenty of customers who want to travel. So it's literally people who are sitting and waiting on packed luggage. They're just looking at where can I go at the moment. So the moment a country is ready and open and with reasonable, obviously, quarantine and entry requirements, there will be last minute bookings as well coming in.
Okay, some good stuff there. I think we'll take a music break right now, and when we come back, we'll talk about vaccines. Okay, welcome back. We have with us today Melina Caruso, BHA consultant, and Simona Chimenti, GM of Pavilions and Director of Marketing and PR for BHA. Okay, let's talk about vaccines. Now, as far as vaccines are concerned, the government has targeted health workers, public servants, and the elderly first, and then the hospitality sector, of course. I know a lot of hotels have even high-end restaurants as well that have had their staff vaccinated already. Give us a bit of an update on the vaccines, Melina.
So there's a lot of numbers being thrown around at the moment, but the information that I have directly from the Department of Health and Tourism is that the initial target of 1,877,946, of those 75% have received the first vaccination and 35% are fully vaccinated from that initial target group. The issue that we have is that we were looking at getting 70% of the total population of Bali vaccinated. And even if we manage to fully vaccinate 1,877,946 by July 1st, it'll only be 43.9 of the total population. So I don't know if there's a backup plan that they have for that. Obviously, there's other factors like the number of positive cases, the number of cases in hospitals, the contact tracing, which we won't really talk about much. It's there. The 3T that the government has out, which is great, and they're doing their best. Well, the industry is trying to support that. But again, you know, there are the powers that are going to make the decisions, and we'll just have to be going along for the ride.
I've heard and read about green zones. Can you tell us a bit about what a green zone is?
Sure. So linking a bit in with what we were just saying about vaccination. So the priority for hospitality workers and for tourism industry in general has gone to the green zone. So the Ministry of Tourism has identified 3 destinations in Indonesia, so Batam, Bintan and Bali, to be the pioneers, let's say, of reopening to tourism. For Bali, due to the sheer size of the island and the number of establishments, there is 3 specific zones. So the larger Nusa Dua area, which also includes Tanjung Benoa, Ubud and a number of surrounding villages, and the Sanur area. So the vaccination program has been prioritized for all the tourism workers and all the residents in these areas, as well as obviously the businesses that operate. As to exactly how tourists will be able to move and get around the green zone areas and how the transportation between the different areas coming in from the airport will be, this is still something that we're currently working out with the government. So there's still a few things to fine tune, let's say, but it's a good first start. We're obviously not expecting to open with a boom, so it will be a slow build up in the reopening phase, and the green zones will help in this purpose of sort of fine tuning and also realizing how we can welcome international customers in full safety. And we're talking, of course, vaccinated customers. So the idea is vaccinated customers and vaccinated staff at the other end.
That's good to know. Also, I've been asked as a KITAS holder or a KITAP holder, for those of you not living in Bali, that's for somebody who's an expat living here, who's working legally with a permit. Are they due to get vaccines as well?
Yeah, absolutely. So if for those that are working in the green zones and in the tourism industry, a lot of them have already been vaccinated. They may have received their first shot and their second shot coming soon. A lot of the green zone vaccines have been using AstraZeneca, so the time delay between the 2 shots is a bit longer. So this is why the numbers also are going a little bit slower, we can say, because we're waiting for the second round. We have one coming up at the end of this month, I think, for the majority of green zones. So we should be completing the green zone vaccination program by the 23rd of June, if I'm not mistaken.
Before we go to another music break, we were talking about Phuket earlier on. Now, they're opening up to travelers on the 1st of July. What have you heard about Phuket?
So Phuket has a very cute or fancy name. It's called the Sandbox. You can play in your sandbox. It's a little bit of a different approach. So they are maintaining their 14-day quarantine. However, because anybody coming in has to be vaccinated and has to be obviously PCR tested, guests are sort of allowed to move around freely on the island of Phuket within their quarantine period. There's a couple of restrictions. So they have to stay in approved hotels. There's a list of hotels that are approved and that have vaccinated staff as well. They have to undergo a second PCR test after 5 days from arrival. And they are strongly recommended to also use facilities and operators that have also been approved by the health authorities. After their 14 days in Phuket, they are free to explore Chiang Mai, Bangkok, and other destinations. The idea here is that, similar to what we're doing in Indonesia, Thailand wants to open little by little. So destination by destination, this is sort of a trial. If this will be successful, there are programs in place for Koh Samui and Pattaya and other destinations to come after that.
So it'll be interesting to keep an eye on them on the 1st of July and see how their trial goes. We'll take a music break, and when we come back, we'll talk about a few topics about the cruise business and how the Balinese are coping at the moment. So we're back again on our very first BHA podcast, and today I have with me Melina Caruso and Simona Chimenti. Do you have any info on the cruise liners?
Yeah, well, boats aren't quite my expertise, but I think the word around town is that the government is supporting private air charters and boat charters that are coming in, and I would say that the harbour would come under the green zone of Sanur, so I'm sure that we will see an increase in boat charters coming in to Bali once things are made a bit clearer. and also the port of Sanua. That will be the exit point for people going over to Gili, because that's been touted as another bubble that you can go to from Bali.
There's a couple of schemes going on that the government are also supporting. Melina, want to tell us a bit about that?
Yeah, the Jakarta government has been very supportive and have implemented a couple of different programs. We've definitely seen an increase of meetings in Bali, for domestic meetings, and also the Work from Bali program, which I think the increase in people that you see on the island at the moment in certain areas is definitely coming from people taking up the program. I think 7 to 9 ministries, I think, that are involved in sending their staff into Bali to work. They've got incentives in place, and I think at the last count there's something like 24 hotels at the moment that are involved in that. So that's good, because there's definitely brings an increase to not just the hotels but the local community as well. So it's really good.
And I think hand in hand, we're also seeing a lot of properties who are advertising a sort of stay and work in Bali for the private sector. So a lot of long-term promotions. We were talking earlier about great rates. So these are also weekly, monthly rates to sort of entice people that live in Surabaya or Jakarta. And if they're able to work online, to come and stay in Bali and work here for a few months. So that's definitely part of the efforts to try to foster the tourism industry over this difficult month.
It's great to see the government, supporting Bali as they are doing at the moment. Tell us a bit, Simona, about travel bubbles.
It's a very hot topic. So obviously, as we talked about green zones, the travel bubble is a bit the counterpart on the sort of like, let's say, on the feeder markets for Bali. So the government is looking at establishing some travel corridors or bubbles with specific countries. We don't have any confirmed partnerships, let's say, as yet, but some of the countries that are being targeted include Singapore, United Arab Emirates, selected destinations in China are on the list, as well as Netherlands. So obviously this is not an easy topic, because it depends also on their pandemic figures and on their restrictions and sort of entry and exit rules in terms of quarantine and testing. But these are sort of some of the favorites that are currently on the list, and I'm sure we'll hear more from our Ministry of Tourism and Creative Economy soon.
We'll take another music break right now, and when we come back, we'll be finishing off with what's going on in Bali at the moment. We'll let you into all the little details. So we're back with our VHA podcast, and I have today Melina, Caruso, and Simona Chimenti. We're going to talk a little bit about what's going on right now in Bali and how the virus has affected the local people and probably ourselves right here. Now, as far as I'm concerned, it hasn't stopped me going out really. Work-wise, it's really affected me because my helicopter doesn't fly anymore. There's that, and of course I'm missing all the international tourists, but I'm doing other things. I haven't let it affect me that much myself personally, and I'm still going out, still doing all the protocols, health protocols when we go in restaurants and bars, and what else do we have? The masks and the washing the hands and everything like that. So we've been very obedient when it comes to hygiene, and to be honest, all the local people have as well. So that's me really. I'm still trying to enjoy myself and looking forward to good things that are coming, so I'm not negative person. The glass is always half full with me. Melina, how has the whole thing affected you?
It's been interesting. I've also tried to maintain an extremely positive attitude. We maintain the protocols in place as much as possible. Business, I have both, clients here and outside of Indonesia. Maintaining my staff has been employed has been really important, and I've managed to do that the whole time. I've been concerned from a perspective of mental health issues here in Bali a fair bit. I've tried to reach out to just my small group of people that I know and tried to support them as much as I can, just discussions. But it's just keeping our spirits up and trying to move forward. Change of lifestyle, I think we've probably gone out less than we normally would. Certainly haven't gone overseas as we normally would, which I'm dying to get on a plane and go somewhere and not worry about quarantining. So I'm looking forward to those days. Having survived a few different disasters here in Bali since 1998, from the time we had the upheaval of Suharto right through to the bombing, bombings. This is about the worst I've seen, and I think that the resilience of the Balinese has shone through. A lot of them went home to their villages where they were supported by their families. You know, they found jobs to do. People that were not from Bali, obviously a lot of those went home to their kampungs, their villages. But the Balinese are resilient, and I think a lot of them became quite entrepreneurial in their ways to earn that little bit of extra money to put food on the table. I think a lot of them were able to do without all the extravagant extras that maybe they had when they were working full time. So that's good to see. And I can say that I'm married to a Balinese, and so that's talking from seeing, you know, our family and friends, how they're coping. So yeah, it's kind of, I feel like we've lived in our own little bubble in a way here in Bali, you know, like family in Melbourne who were in complete lockdown. You know, Simona and I a few times we're out shopping, but we're out, down at the beach having a drink, and life went on, but we weren't in a lockdown in any way. I'll hand over to Simona.
I think, business-wise, it has been very, very difficult. So when we look at how it has affected our industry and hotels in particular, I can speak on behalf of my property. I'm 100% nearly based on international tourism. So obviously that means that we've been in a state of sort of wait and see for the past 15 months or so. The approach we've taken from a business-wise is we're all in this together. So we've simply made the necessary cuts, and we've all gone on partial work so that we have been able to survive and have been able not to let anybody go. So it definitely has taken some compromise on behalf of the team, but I think it's these are the times where you see also people coming through, right? It's in the times of adversity that you see people sticking together and really understanding that we'll have to weather the storm. We're not all in the same boat, obviously, but we're all going through the same storm. Personal wise, I think it's right. Bali's been a bit of a bubble. We've not been on a serious lockdown like in Europe. So I'm half Italian. In Italy, it's been a disaster, obviously, and also very restrictive. So our life has gone on. It's been nice to see the island, I would say, recover from an environmental point of view a bit. It's been nice to see the absence of traffic. It's been nice to see the beaches in their natural state. So definitely there are some upsides. I think it was a nice opportunity to discover a bit more of the island of Bali. There were some great hotel deals. I've traveled a bit around Indonesia, which I probably would have not done if regular travel would have been allowed. So it's always what you make of it in the situation and what your destination allows you to do. But yeah, I'm not going to hide. We are itching to go back to business, obviously, and to start seeing our economy recover.
Okay, that's interesting. Well, I think even though Bali's been closed, there's still, I see a lot of new places opening. And then some people have taken the time to renovate as well. So I've seen a lot of renovations going on. So I think when people come back to Bali, they're going to see new places. And we hope our beautiful Bali can reopen to foreign travellers soon, and then an economic recovery to follow, hopefully. We'll finish off with a wish, Melina. If you would wish something for Bali, what would it be?
I would wish that I have two wishes. Can I have two? And my first one would be that the government makes things clear and simple so that we can all follow it and get on with the recovery. That's my first wish. My second wish is that the Balinese find a little bit more other than tourism to earn an income from, and so that all their eggs are not in the one basket. I learnt that after the Bali bombing. I diversified a little bit, and I think I can see that perhaps my wish that the Balinese will find a way to not have all their eggs in the one tourism basket. Even though, my business partially involves tourism, I think that would be my two wishes for Bali.
It's a good wish. Two good wishes. I think I can't say don't put all your eggs in the tourism basket, because that's my basket. I think my wish is that we learn a little bit that we were growing too fast, too quick, and we weren't really looking at the sustainability of what makes Bali Island unique, right? So in the long term, we have to preserve the nature. We have to preserve the culture. Of course, there has to be beach bars and restaurants and whatever else in terms of entertainment, but it has to be a bit more sustainable. So I hope that this forced pause that we all had over the last year or so also makes us reconsider consider how do we want to preserve the beauty of the island moving forward, right? And that's as much true, obviously, for the Balinese as for all of us who are visitors here. It is our best asset, and we want it to be here for many years to come. So hopefully it will guide us in a direction of a bit more sustainable tourism to make sure that we can enjoy that a lot of years.
And I think I wish that all countries open up safely and let their citizens come back to Bali so we can see all our friends again. So I think returners to Bali will obviously see a lot of change, but one thing's not changed are the Balinese smiles and the island's warm welcome. So I'd thank you very much to Melina Caruso and Simona Chimenti, and we'll talk to you next time.
Thanks, Steve. Thanks for having us.
Thank you, Steve.